so that this one is our overall cell reaction which is actually taking place, right? So if we are going to proceed, we see to it that the EMF of this particular cell, so we have the EMF of this particular cell itself is going to be equal to, so our E cell is equal to the electrode potential of our cathode, right, minus the electrode potential of our anode, right, or which is also equal to the electrode potential of our oxidizing agent, right, minus the electrode potential of our reducing agent. So this one itself is going to be equal to 0.74 volts, right, minus 0.76 volts. So at the end of the day, we are going to get the electrode potential of our cell is equal to 1.50 volts, right? So this electrode potential for this one itself is plus 0.74 volts, right? So as the battery discharges, the concentration of its electrolyte decreases, and also the rate of the reaction decreases as well, and so does the current that it can supply. The structure of the cell is such that the area of the cathode, which is our carbon rod there, is relatively small, even though the area of the anode, the zinc casing, is relatively large, as you can see from our diagram of our dry cell, right? This means that the cell is not capable of delivering a very large current. There is also a fairly large distance between the electrodes, so that the cells have a fairly high internal resistance. So the EMF of the cell is not as high as some of the more modern cells which are based on lithium, but is cheaper and convenient to use. A typical capacity for an AA size cell could be 160 milliamp hours. We know these particular AA size cells. These ones, they actually have a capacity of 160 milliampere hours. So the capacity is limited by the size of the cell and the amount of electrolyte it can accommodate, right? So if we want to actually compare our zinc carbon cell with other types of cell, we are going to realize that our zinc carbon cells are relatively simple to make and cheaper than other types. That's the first advantage which we have. And our zinc carbon cells, they have a high capacity because they contain a lot of electrolytes, right? They have a relatively high internal resistance and cannot supply a high current because the electrodes are small and they are actually far apart. So those are some of the advantages which we have as far as our dry carbon cell is concerned, right? So now let us conclude our lesson with let us conclude our lesson with what we call alkaline batteries. These alkaline batteries, they are also an example of primary cells, right? But now the anode of our alkaline battery is of zinc, and the cathode itself is of manganese dioxide. So our anode, which we have there, is also made of zinc, but now the cathode itself is made of manganese dioxide. So as you can see, if we're going to compare this one with our dry carbon zinc cell, we can actually see that the anode itself is the same, but the difference which we have is right there on our cathode. However, the electrolyte is an alkaline paste. As you can see, we are having our manganese dioxide in our cathode and our carbon as our cathode. But now if we are going to look closely, we are saying that this one is being called the alkaline batteries. Why? Just because we have a paste of alkaline potassium hydroxide which is acting as our electrolyte, instead of us having ammonium chloride and zinc chloride as in the dry carbon zinc cell, right? Remember, potassium hydroxide itself is an alkaline electrolyte, so that's why this one is being called an alkaline battery. Why? Because it contains an alkaline paste of potassium hydroxide. These particular alkaline batteries, they are more expensive to produce, but they have advantages that in many applications make them cheaper to use in the long run. They can supply a current for a longer period because they have a higher capacity for the same size. Like that one of our, if we have the same size of our dry carbon zinc cell and our alkaline battery, we see to it that our alkaline battery itself is going to supply a higher current for a longer period of time as compared to some of these particular size of our cells, right? And then they can actually provide also a higher electrical current. So these are the two advantages which we have of the alkaline batteries. So stay tuned for our third lesson in what we call secondary batteries.